Hey there, sports history fan. Arnie Chapman here from the Sports History Network. Now, before you jump into this episode, I wanted to share with you an exciting giveaway we have going on with Home Field Apparel. We have a digital $50 gift card to homefieldapparel.com for one lucky fan of the Sports History Network. All you got to do is head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways to sign up. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways.
Hello, this is Ross Bliley from the podcast Pigskin Tales. This podcast is sponsored by Sterling Soap Company. With products sold throughout 41 locations around the globe, Sterling Soap Company has a unique assortment of products to choose from for your loved one for the holidays. Handmade artisan soaps created by Roderick and Amanda Lovin since 2012, these products are affordable and provide great value. Act now and save on your shipping costs. If you purchase $75 or more, your shipping cost is free in the United States. Shop now online at sterlingsoap.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. I'm here once again with my friend Dave DePaola. Today, we're returning to the year 1971 to discuss Super Bowl V, often called the Blunder Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys and Baltimore Colts combined for 14 penalties and 11 turnovers. Before we get to the game, let's look at each team's season leading up to it. And Dave, if you're welcome to stop me at any time. If you have anything you'd like to add, just jump right in.
Go ahead, Mark.
So, first year head coach Don McCafferty, the Colts finished the regular season with an 11-2-1 record. Pretty impressive record. They got blown out, and the season didn't start too good for them. They got blown out in a Week 2 Monday night game against the defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. The score was 44-24. Their top running back, Tom Matte, missed almost the entire season with an injury, so they had to rely on their aging quarterback, Johnny Unitas, and their defense. The Colts shut out the Cincinnati Bengals in their playoff game and then defeated the Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship game. Dallas had compiled an impressive 42-12-2 regular season record from 1966 to 1969, but they were the team that couldn't win the big game. They lost a heartbreaker to the Packers in the 1966 NFL title game, and another to the Packers in the famous Ice Bowl game the following year. Then they lost to the Cleveland Browns in 1968 playoffs and lost to them again the following year. So 4 years in a row with a chance to go to the Super Bowl and 4 missed opportunities. They started the 1970 season with a very average 5-4 record. And one of those losses was a humiliating 54-13 defeat at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings. Then another loss was a 38-0 embarrassment to the St. Louis Cardinals on Monday Night Football. So it looked like the Cowboys wouldn't even make the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl. But suddenly the Cowboys got hot, winning 7 games in a row, including a victory over the Detroit Lions in the playoffs and a win over the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC title game. Their defense let up 16 points in their last 6 games before the Super Bowl. The Packers and Oilers each had a field goal. The Oilers did score a touchdown in that game, but it was a defensive touchdown, a fumble recovery. They shut out the Redskins, they shut out the Browns, and they shut out the Lions. The Browns got 2 defensive points on a safety. The 49ers got a field goal and a touchdown. That was some... I know you like to talk about that. That was an incredible run. The defense.
That was 24 quarters without a touchdown until the 49ers scored that touchdown in the playoff game.
Unbelievable.
And, we talked to Bob Lilly the last time we got together, and he wasn't even aware of it. He said he didn't realize that. Imagine that?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That was actually better than the following year, the next year when they win the Super Bowl in 71. Right. This was a better stretch than that.
Yeah. And for a team that had been playing so lousy up to that point. So, now we'll look at the game. On its first possession, the Cowboys tried to surprise the Colts. I guess that was their thinking. They threw deep. They threw deep on the first 2 plays. First down and second down, they threw deep, and both passes were badly underthrown.
Terrible.
Very bad. Very bad.
Terrible. And to start that game, Mark, okay, when the games, I watched they put it together. Joe Namath was a guest. He came on he was on Kirk, somebody was interviewing him. I don't know if it was Kirk Gowdy or somebody else, and he was talking about how good the Colts defense was.
That's right.
He was right. They were very good, the Colts defense. He was talking about it. The Cowboys had a better running game, and they thought they would run away from Bubba Smith.
Yeah.
Prior to the game, he was talking about all this stuff. He thought it would be a close game. He even went as far as saying the Colts would win by a field goal, which he was right. But,
he nailed it.
As I was watching that, I'm thinking Namath at the time, we're watching it now. It's 50 years later plus.
Yeah.
At that time, he was only 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl III.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as I'm watching it, I was thinking about that, But you were right. Great. First series, it was terrible, 3 and out, and the Colts as well went 3 and out. But the passing game never got on track the whole day. Craig Morton was just not good. I know he had the shoulder injury, but he was just really, he completed a pass to Hayes, and there was a couple. We'll get into those as we go through the game, but he was not good at all. But go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so the Colts tried running on their first possession, but they were shut down and went 3 and out. And then on its second possession, the Cowboys tried to get their powerful running game going, but they went 3 and out too. And then the Colts went to the air on their second possession, and they were sorry they did because Chuck Howley intercepted on the first play.
That's right, first down. Chuck had a very good interception too.
Yeah,
he was like backpedaling, and he tipped it up. And I think he was phenomenal, Howley. It's amazing that it took him that long to get in the Hall of Fame. But I just looked up Morton for this game. Morton was 12 out of 26. Think that's not even 50%.
Yeah,
three interceptions and a touchdown for a total of 127 yards in this game. That's absolutely unacceptable. I know we don't score. I know 200 yards was probably 180. 200 was average back then.
Right.
But 127 yards, that's inexcusable.
No, he had that bad shoulder, and we'll get into that more as we talk about the game.
Yeah.
So Chuck Howley intercepts, and Cowboys couldn't do anything with it. Nothing. Went 3 and out again. Then we have a punt. The Cowboys punt, and the Colts' Ron Gardine fumbled the punt. Cowboys had the ball at the Colts' 9-yard line. They gained 4 yards on a run and then lost 2 yards on the next run. So now we got a third down, and Morton overthrew on third down, and the Cowboys had to settle for a field goal. That's a blown opportunity right there.
Terrible.
Yeah, what did I say? They had it on the 9-yard line.
Yeah.
Had it on the 9-yard line, and they had to settle for a field goal.
That's right.
Yeah. Then the Colts again went 3 and out on their next possession. And then they made another special teams error when they could not down the ball on the 1-yard line. They couldn't down the punt on the 1-yard line. They could have had the Cowboys pinned at the 1-yard line, but ball went into the end zone. Cowboys took over at their 20, and they got the first down of the game.
Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And you know something? You go back to that series you just talked about where the Colts took over for their third possession after the Cowboys kicked the field goal. Kurt Gowdy, he's calling the game, and they tried to go outside, I think, with Boulash, and right. Lilly cuts him off, and he tackles him. And Kurt Gowdy refers to him as the sheriff. Yeah. He says, Bob Lilly, the sheriff. Listen, I wanted to ask him about that on our last podcast. Yeah. You didn't hear that often during the call. I think it was more of a thing that Kurt Gowdy, or they called him in the A, but you never really heard that in a broadcast. I never heard that term used a lot, but they called him that. He says, the best defensive tackle. He's a 10-year veteran, and he went on that play. I'm sure you saw it when you were watching the game, but it struck me that it was really the first time I've ever heard it in a broadcast.
Yeah. It was in a magazine, I remember. But that's probably the only 2 times I ever heard him called the sheriff.
Yes.
There was a magazine called Pro Quarterback.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I used to have a subscription to that, Mark. They had wonderful pictures in there. The color pictures that were in there were spectacular for the time.
Incredible magazine. Okay, so Cowboys take over on their 20, and they get the first down. Then they follow that up with a good, they had a few good runs, then a screen pass, and they got another first down. So it looks like maybe they got something going. Then Morton connected with Bob Hayes on a long pass. And then they got a roughing the passer penalty, which was pretty rare back then. So now they have the ball at the Colts 6-yard line. So they got the Colts on the ropes now. And they call a pass. And again, for some reason, Morton hesitated. I don't understand what happened on this play, because Dwayne Thomas was wide open in the end zone.
Yeah.
And Morton hesitated, and by the time he threw the pass got blocked.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know. He always seemed to have that problem with hesitating.
The announcers got excited because he was so wide open.
Yeah.
And he had Ralph Neely out there with him, I think, or something. Yeah. And they were saying he's wide open. Neely was out in front on top of it all. If they needed him, he was so open, nobody even touched him.
Yeah.
And he gets it batted down.
Yeah. So now it's second down. They try a running play, which gains nothing. Next play, Morton's called for intentional grounding. So, again, they got to settle for a field goal, and they could have had a touchdown. Could have been 14-0 at this point, right?
With that defense they had, I wouldn't say over, but the game is pretty well in hand at 14-0, believe me.
Yeah. So, now they settle for another field goal. What could have been a 14-0 lead was a 6-0 lead. So now the Colts get the ball on the kickoff, and Baltimore still hadn't made a first down yet. Um, and they hadn't been in Cowboys territory either.
Nope.
So now we have the controversial tipped pass.
Yes, this was their fourth possession, correct?
Right.
It was the Colts' fourth possession in the crazy play. Go ahead, Mark.
That's right. Johnny Unitas threw the pass high. Pass was intended for Eddie Hinton. Pass was high. Hinton tipped the ball. John Mackey caught it and ran for a touchdown. And we know what the rule was. At that time, the ball could not be touched by two receivers on the same team unless it was touched in between by a player on the other team. And the referee determined that Cowboys' Mel Renfro had touched it. Cowboys were pretty adamant that he didn't touch that. You'll see in the films, you see Charlie Waters jumping up and down, right? Arguing with the referee.
Yeah, but he did touch it, though. You could see it in the NFL films. The rotation of the ball changes.
Yeah, the rotate. That's how you could tell. The rotation of the ball. And so, referee said Mel Renfro touched it. The Cowboys insisted he hadn't, but like you said, it looked like he probably did touch it. So, and at that time, of course, they didn't have 1,000 cameras all over the field.
Nope.
So there wasn't really. They didn't, like they do today. They looked at that play for 10 minutes. But back then,
no, listen. There was several plays in this game. This game would have probably went about 3.5 hours.
Yeah. So, 100 different cameras. Yep. So it looked like. So the touchdown held. I think that was a 75-yard touchdown, right?
Yes, it was.
But they missed the extra point.
Yes.
Jim O'Brien missed the extra point.
Yeah.
So it's tied 6-6.
That pass, Mark, was only one of 3 completions by Unitas. He only completed 3 passes for 88 yards before he got knocked out of the game. Yeah. And that was 75 yards.
Yeah.
Other than that, he only had 13 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, he was getting up in age by then.
Yeah, he was. When did he come in 58 or 59? When was Unitas' first year?
I think it might have been 56.
Okay, 56.
Yeah.
He's got 14 years and then at this point, yes.
Yeah.
And he almost looked as bad as Morton. Let me just tell you that.
Oh yeah, he was getting up in age. Yeah. He wasn't in his prime anymore, but he did have a good game against Oakland the week before in the championship.
Yeah, there was no pressure on him. They were talking about that.
Yeah.
And they were saying Oakland wasn't. He said Unitas was pressured in this game here more than any other game of the season, they said.
Right. So Baltimore gets the ball. No. Where did I leave off? Okay.
You left off with the field goal, and it should have been 14, but instead it was. Oh no, we went to the crazy play there with Mackey scoring.
Missed the extra point. So now Dallas gets the ball and goes 3 and out. Then Baltimore gets the ball. They continue to try to run, but without any success. They went 3 and out.
Yep.
So a lot of, the defense, you could say the offenses weren't playing well, but the defenses had a lot to do with that.
Yes, you're right. They went 3 and out again, the Cowboys, on their next series.
That's right. They couldn't run either.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, neither quarterback was playing well. Defenses weren't given an inch. So, 3 and out for the Cowboys. So now, on the next series, on Baltimore's next series, Unitas United's was forced to run. As you mentioned, they were putting a lot of pressure on him. So he was forced to run, and he took a shot to the ribs.
Yep.
Looks like it was Leroy Jordan and Chuck Howley hit him.
That's right.
And took a shot to the ribs, and he fumbled. And Chuck Howley recovered at the Colts' 30-yard line. And then a few plays later, the Cowboys had a touchdown and a 13-6 lead.
Yeah, it was. In that drive, Mark, when they scored the touchdown, that was their eighth possession. They started looking good with the short pass. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
The short passes were working. He got a pass out to Reeves. I think he hit Garrison, maybe hit Thomas once or twice.
Yeah.
And the short passing game was effective because we couldn't complete anything long, Morton.
No.
So, but that was probably one of their best looking drives of the game, really. And it was short, but it looked good.
Yeah. So they finally got a touchdown, 13-6. Then after a good kickoff return, Colts had a good kickoff return, and then they had a pass interference call. So the Colts now finally had something going. But then defensive end for the Cowboys, George Andre. That's Bob Lilly's old roommate. His good buddy George Andre put a strong rush on United's.
Yep.
Forcing him to rush the pass, and Mel Renfro intercepted.
So
that was his second interception, right?
That's right.
And on that play, United took another shot to the ribs and limped off the field in obvious pain. That was his second shot to the ribs. And now the Cowboys had complete control of the game, poised to move in for the kill. But they were still having trouble moving the ball.
Yep.
Yep. You got to give the Colts defense credit, right?
And penalties, too.
Oh, yeah. A lot of
penalties.
A lot of penalties in this game. Colts dug in and again forced the Cowboys to punt. And then that was it for United's. Earl Morrall came in and finally got the Colts moving. As you mentioned earlier, United's was not playing well, so Earl Morrall came in, got the team moving, and a first down at the Cowboys' 2-yard line.
Yeah.
And then the Doomsday defense dug in. 3 runs produced no gain. And the Colts decided to go for it on 4th down. And, that wasn't very common back then at that time, right?
I thought the same thing, Mark, when I was watching that.
Yeah.
I said, when he went over to the sideline, I had forgot, you forget, you can't remember every single play. When he came jogging back out, and I knew that the Cowboys had that 13-6 lead at halftime, so I said, they must have went for a field goal here and missed it.
Right.
And I said, how the hell could he have missed? He was so close, but no, he came back out with the quarterback. Yeah. And I said, boy, today it's nothing. Yeah. Today they do it in their own territory even.
Yeah.
But now, it's just, they didn't convert. He threw a crazy pass into the end zone. It was incomplete.
Yep, incomplete. So now the Colts missed the golden opportunity. Had the ball first down on the 2-yard line and got nothing. Got nothing out of it. So now the Cowboys take possession. And this is a weird, they had some kind of weird rule back then, which I don't really understand. The ball was at the 2-yard line.
Right.
And the referees moved the ball from the 2-yard line to the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
And
I didn't I didn't get that.
I don't know what I still don't know what the rule was. That seemed like a very strange rule.
It was a rule. It wasn't a penalty, right, Mark?
No, it wasn't a penalty. They took the
Yep.
ball from the 2-yard line and they moved it to the 20-yard line. And I don't remember the announcers explaining it, so I still really don't know what that rule was. Why they would take it from the 2-yard line and move it out to the 20, but it didn't really matter because time ran out anyway. It was halftime.
Yes.
So now,
After watching that first half, Mark, my thoughts were like, the Cowboys could have really been up even more than 13-6.
yeah,
But they did have momentum. They were playing pretty solid. Their defense was coming off that skull line stand.
that's right.
Morrow looked pretty good. He hit Sam Haverlack with a pass, and they get down there, but I was actually shocked that they didn't get in. I'm going to be honest with you. They came away with no points.
Yeah, first down at the 2-yard line. They didn't even gain a half a yard.
No, and the teams, after I watched that first half and then I watched the second half, the teams Baltimore had 8 possessions in the first half, and the Cowboys had 9 possessions because they had an extra. But in the second half, they didn't have anywhere near that because they only got up to like 13, 14 possessions, not even. And so there was a little, they traded the ball. It was a lot of 3 and outs. That's what was going on. So there was a lot of possessions there. The drives were a little longer in the second half.
Yes. So now halftime. So I think the Colts got the kickoff to start the second half. The Colts got the kickoff and they fumbled right on the kickoff.
Yep, 5th or 6th turnover for the Colts right there.
Yeah. They fumbled the kickoff. So Dallas gets another golden opportunity. They take the ball they have the ball at the Colts 31-yard line. And they finally got a couple of good runs. They got the ball to the 15-yard line after 2 good runs. And it looked like maybe they finally had their running game on track. Then 3 more runs. 3 more runs brought the ball to the 2-yard line.
Exactly.
And then we have that famous play. On the very next play, Dwayne Thomas fumbled.
Yeah.
Cowboys,
That was the play of the game, Mark, to me.
yeah.
If they score there, it's 20-3. That game is over.
It's over.
Just like Chuck Bednarik once said.
Yeah.
This game is over, he said. Okay, well, this game would have been over. Okay? And if you go back and watch that play, I want you to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
A referee comes running in from the right side of the television screen so fast, and he's pointing. I don't know what the hell he's seeing. Nobody else is. Well, the Cowboy, he fumbles the ball. It looks like a Colt could be there, but you don't know what's going on underneath. This guy's pointing before the guys are even uncovered.
Yeah.
And Dave Manders had the ball when he came up with it, but you know who was mad in that? Morton actually gets upset. You go back and watch it. Morton's getting angry about it.
Yeah, because he saw that Manders recovered it.
That was terrible.
The quarterback's not going to jump in the pile, So he's standing there watching it. And the center, like you said, Dave Manders comes out of the pile holding the ball in his hands. He shows the referee, I got the ball.
Yep.
The referee says Colts ball. Unbelievable.
That was huge. That was a game-changing play right there.
Yeah. That would have made it 20-6, right?
Yes. 20-6.
The way the Cowboys defense was playing, no way. It's over. It would have been over. All right, so now the Colts get the ball, and they manage to move the ball enough to attempt a 52-yard field goal.
That was unheard of even back then.
Yeah, you talked about that in some of our prior podcasts about how much better the kickers are. Today, a 52-yard field goal is makeable,
nothing,
right? Yeah.
Very. It's almost like a chip shot today. Not that bad, but I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I think the current kicker has the best percentage outside the 50, but it's today they're nothing.
Yeah. Back then, a 52-yard field goal was, the chances of making it were not good.
And O'Brien was a rookie, the Colts kicker.
That's right. He was a rookie. He was actually, and at that time, a lot of the kickers still were playing other positions besides just kicker. He was a backup wide receiver.
Yes. And you can return it. I mean, you can still do that today, but you could put a guy down there and have him catch it and run it back.
Right. And, speaking of that, so the kick was short. Mel Renfro was expecting the ball to roll into the end zone for a touchback, so he didn't pick it up. But the ball suddenly stopped, and the Colts downed it at the 1-yard line. So that was kind of a big play, too. I mean...
Yes, it was a big play.
I guess, you can't really blame Renfro because he was thinking the ball was going to roll into the end zone.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The Cowboys had possession, and it was down near the goal line, so I think it was on this possession, where they ran, I think, a play on third down. The Colts were clearly offsides. It never got called.
Wow.
It never got called, Mark. That would have given the Cowboys a first down, and I don't know how far they would have advanced it after that, but you can see two guys jump, and then they go into the easily, and they didn't get back in time either. In fact, you could see Ralph Neely going right up to the referee saying, "How could you not call that?" I don't know if you remember the play that I'm talking about, but that was another big play kind of, and it was right after the other play kind of, not too long after the fumble.
Right.
Then they come up with this one that they don't call. I said, the guy's clearly offsides. It's a penalty. It was giving the Cowboys the first time. Instead, they had a punt.
Sheesh. Unbelievable. Yeah, they went 3 and out, right?
Yes, exactly.
I don't remember that specific play you're talking about. I'll have to...
go look at the third down play on that drive when you get a chance, and you'll see it. Clear as day, guys are offside. They're standing up. It's almost, it's so blatant. It's like, wait, you thought they were going to, throw a flag.
Right.
And the announcers even got confused. The announcers were saying something, and they were like, okay, the Cowboys into punt now. They thought something was going to be called.
So it was who was the other announcer? Gowdy?
I think it was Kyle Rote.
Kyle Rote, yeah. And his son became a big soccer star, right?
Yes, Junior, yes.
Junior, yep. Okay, so now the Cowboys have to punt, and the Colts get good field position. They take the ball at the Cowboys' 46-yard line. But they get a clipping penalty, which puts them back on their 39-yard line. Then a long pass got the Colts to, I don't remember who caught the pass. It was a long pass, and the Colts got the ball at the Cowboys' 15-yard line. And then another Chuck Halley interception.
Yep. In the end zone.
That's right. Yeah, they had a good opportunity there. They were at the Cowboys' 15-yard line, and Chuck Halley saved the day. Another interception. That's right. It was in the end zone.
Yeah, backpedaling, and he picks it off. It was a terrible pass, but he picked it off, Halley. Yeah.
Yep. Now the Colts, so the Cowboys get the ball, and Walt Garrison had a big run. And every time it looked like, they'd get one or two good runs, and it looked like, all right, they finally got their running game going.
Yeah.
But then the Colts defense stiffened, and they forced the Cowboys to punt. So you got to give the Colts defense credit. I mean, they were playing a great game.
Yeah, no, look. Walt Garrison was playing with a chipped bone in his shoulder. He had a bum ankle.
That's right.
Okay. Who got a big, who really liked him, you could tell as he announced the name, was Kurt Gowdy.
Yeah.
Because Kurt Gowdy was from Wyoming.
Oh.
And he knew about Garrison's exploits on the rodeo circuit.
Right.
And so Kurt Gowdy was talking about Walt Garrison, who Meredith once said if Landry was married to Raquel Welch, he'd expect her to cook. That was one of Walt Garrison's lines. But Kurt Gowdy was getting a big kick out of the fact that Garrison, was in the rodeo in the off season.
Right. Yep. So now Cowboys got a punt, and Cowboys get a pass interference call against them. So again, the Colts have pretty good field position. They got the ball at their. I kind of lost my place here.
The Colts stuff? Yeah. The Cowboys had the. You're talking about after the interception, the Cowboys were forced to punt on a 3-and-out.
Right.
And the Colts possession, it was their 11th possession of the game. There was a pass interference on Charlie Waters.
Right.
And then there was another penalty, an illegal use of hands on Cornell Green. So they got all the way down to the Cowboys 39.
Okay. And they
moved the ball. They moved the ball to the Cowboys 39, and that's when they had that crazy play where the ball got fumbled out of the end zone.
Well, they had a pass in there. Somewhere in between there, they gained 23 yards on a pass play.
Yes, they did. The Colts, yes.
Right. Then they had a holding penalty. Now, after the holding penalty, so the ball is at the 39-yard line.
Yes. Exactly right.
Oh, wait a minute. The holding penalty was against Dallas, right?
Yes. Yes, it was. It was an illegal. They called it illegal use of hands on Cornell Green.
Cornell Green, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And then they fumbled, right? Well, that's the crazy play you said, right?
Yeah, they tried the flea flicker, and they threw a pass, and he was supposed to throw it back to Earl Morrill,
Right,
but instead he threw the ball downfield to one of the Colts receivers, and somebody knocked it out of his hand. The Cowboys almost recovered it in the end zone, but I think it's the same thing. The ball rolled out of the end zone. It turned out to be a touchback. Cowboys ball to 20.
That's right. Didn't Jethro Pugh mess that play up?
Somebody got in between.
I think it was Jethro Pugh.
Yeah, he got in between, the receiver who was going to throw it back. So he throws it to a receiver, and then the receiver's actually getting yardage, and somebody comes up from behind and knocks it out. And the ball goes into the end zone. That was the Colts' 7th turnover. How can you lose a game when you're getting 7 turnovers? It's unbelievable. I don't think it's ever been done before. We can look that up someday, but I don't think it's ever been done.
I forget who the receiver was, but he was running for a touchdown, right? He was on his way for a touchdown. And then
it was either Haverlack or Gardine. I can't remember.
Yeah. Who was it that knocked the ball out of his hand?
I'm not sure if it was Charlie Waters. Somebody came up. Speaking of Charlie Waters, I forgot to mention this. Well, Cliff Harris went for military duty.
That's right.
And Charlie Waters ends up starting in the season and ends up starting this game.
Yes.
But Cliff Harris was playing on special teams.
Yes.
He did, but Charlie Waters was the starting safety with Cornell Green. Imagine that.
Yep, that's right.
He was a rookie. He was a rookie too, Charlie Waters. He was a rookie that year.
Yeah, and that was rare for Landry to start a rookie.
Yep.
Well, him and Harris were both rookies, right?
Yes, they were.
But Harris missed a lot of playing time because of military service.
That's right.
And that was in Vietnam, right?
I believe it was. I don't know if he was in the reserves, but he did miss time.
Yeah. Yep. So that crazy play, the ball went out of the end zone. Dallas took over at the 20, and then they had an interception, right?
Of course. Morton throws it. He gets picked off by Rick Volk, who returns it pretty good, too.
Yep. That's right. He did. He brought the ball to the 2-yard line.
That's right.
And this time, Baltimore was able to punch it in. So now the game is tied 13-13. And now Dallas gets the ball back, and they got to the 50-yard line. They got to midfield.
Oh.
And the drive stalled.
They got to the Colts' 49-yard line.
Right.
And ended back up on their own 27-yard line. I don't know why. I think there were penalties.
Penalties must have been.
They were all the way back at their own 27, if you could believe that. From going from the 49 of the Colts all the way back to their own.
Unbelievable. So they got a good punt. Who was the punter? Ron Whitby?
Yes.
He had a good punt and pinned the Colts at the 5-yard line.
Yes.
And then the Colts they kept trying to run the ball, and they were getting nothing. 3 runs in a row.
And out.
That was it. They punted. Then Dallas gets the ball in good field position. They get the ball at their 48-yard line. And at this point, like you said, the second half seemed to go a lot faster. Dallas got the ball at its 48-yard line, and now there's only 1:52 left in the game.
Oh, boy.
And they got the ball at their 48.
Yep.
So I remember, I was very young at the time. I was
9, maybe?
I was just about to turn 9. I was about a couple of months away from my 9th birthday. But I remember, thinking at that point in the game, they had good field position, 1:52 left. They said, this is it. They're going to win the game here.
Yep.
All they needed was a field goal, right?
Yep.
All they had to do was get in field goal range. A holding penalty. Right away.
There you go.
Holding penalty. Puts them all the way back to their 33-yard line.
Imagine that.
So much for good field position, right?
Yep.
Immediately they get a holding penalty. And then, so now it's 1st and 25. And this was kind of surprising because ordinarily Landry would be conservative in a situation like that, right?
Yep.
You'd think he would have just run the ball, run out the clock, and play for overtime.
Nope.
But he didn't do that. They elected to pass. You go back and you second guess. You wonder what would have happened if they could have just run the ball.
He throws. His pass goes a little high. He's trying to hit Dan Reeves.
Yep.
Reeves gets hit in the back. The ball gets picked off by Mike Curtis.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Reeves got his fingertips on the ball.
Yep.
And like you said, just as he was reaching for the ball, he got hit in the back. Mike Curtis intercepts it, and they got the ball at the Cowboys' 29-yard line.
Yep.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful just talking about it, Dave.
Let me tell you something. When you're a kid, you can't analyze a football game like we're analyzing it now.
Yeah.
You know, especially back then. And you know, I think I was 11 years old.
Right.
I just turned 11 in November, and you can't analyze it, and you're not realizing all these. You know, you've got 7 or 8 turnovers now in your favor.
Yeah.
And you blew a game like this. There was not even really, it was just a series of bizarre stuff. But
yeah,
the Colts defense did play good. I'm going to give them credit in the second half.
Very good.
These were not even long drives that you had to put together.
Yeah.
They weren't.
No. So now they got the ball on the Cowboys' 29-yard line. 2 running plays, gained 5 yards. So now they're at the 24-yard line. And they got 9 seconds left.
Yeah.
At that time, the goalpost is still on the at the
goal line.
Yeah, it's at the goal line.
That's right.
So I think it wound up being like a 32-yard field goal.
Yeah, it was 32-yarder.
Yep. By the time he kicked that ball, there was only 5 seconds left.
That's it.
But I think the Colts must have been pretty nervous because he had missed an extra point.
Yes.
Earlier in the game.
Yes.
And like you said, he was a rookie.
Yep. Today that would have been a 42-yarder, That would have been a little different thing there.
That's right. So he kicked the field goal. And it was actually
that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated the following week.
That's right.
You could see Mel Renfro from behind jumping up.
That's right. That's when they were still allowed to
jump up.
Jump on their teammates' backs, right?
Yeah.
They were allowed to jump up on their teammates' back to try to block it. So he kicked the field goal. There was actually time for one more play after that.
Yeah, a kickoff, yeah. And then they ran a play, the Cowboys, that's right.
Which was an interception.
Yep. It was a look, you go back and I didn't say this in the beginning. I wanted to mention it. For those that don't know, which is probably 98% of the population of the entire country, this was the first competitive Super Bowl. You can say what you want about the mistakes and everything else, but it was the first closely contested Super Bowl game.
Yeah.
Super Bowls 1 through 4 were not close.
No, none of them.
And even if you want to go to Super Bowl 10, there was only maybe 3 competitive Super Bowls. 7, was close with the Redskins, even though the Dolphins were undefeated. That was a 14-7 game. That was a close game.
Right.
As was Super Bowl 10. But the first 10 Super Bowls, they weren't really all that competitive. So this was really the first one.
That's right.
It was a sloppy game. It was a very hard-hitting game. If you go back and you go watch NFL films when they made those yearly films about the Super Bowl games, I think they're about 22 minutes in length, counting the commercial time.
Right.
So it's a 30-minute program, but the films were about 23 minutes. They talk a lot about the hard-hitting. They talk a lot about the defenses. Yeah. And the thing about it, too, is the people don't remember, this was the first year of AFC and NFC, and the Colts were an NFL team. So the Colts went over to the AFC, which was the old AFL.
Right.
And so the Colts were the Cowboys were really kind of playing, an old NFL team.
That's right. Yep. And I lost my train of thought there.
Maybe when I was
you were mentioning that a lot of people don't they talk about all the turnovers, but a lot of those turnovers were that they were forced because of the hard hitting.
Yes.
A lot of those turnovers were the result of good defense and hard hitting.
Yeah, it was. I remember sitting down on the floor. Remember watching that game vividly. When my Uncle Jerry was over the house, my father was in his chair. We were all watching, I remember. And they were talking about during the game.
That will conclude part 1 of our discussion on Super Bowl V between the Dallas Cowboys and the Baltimore Colts. Hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week and we will have part 2. Thank you and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.